Well, here's the thing, and I can see all sides on this. The bottom line is what I think the council members want to know is, do the people of Blackstone generally want either three things? There's a group that wants to renovate the Armory. There's a group, a lot of people I talk to, they don't want to renovate the Armory, and there's a group that wants to do a new community center with a swimming pool, and there's some folks out there, actually it's four, they're like, keep saving money, keep providing basic services, and maybe somebody will buy the Armory. This is four big mindsets out there. Now, I'm of the opinion, I think Walter Mack is correct, I'm of the opinion a confused mind is going to say no, and so, unless you have really specifics.
We respectfully will not participate in writing a referendum because we feel like it's bad for a town and for the project, and we will not participate.
Is that your board's position or your position?
Board's position.
Okay. So you're looking at a committee of 2 council members.
You can't write it, Mayor. You cannot write anything. Anybody in Blackstone understands this is too big of a project. It's much too complicated. We elected you 7 people to take care of this.
Why don't we do this? Well, members, do you want to continue to look at the list of grants and marinate over this another month, or do you want me to go ahead and name a committee tonight? I could do 2 council members, Zach Whitlow, and pick someone I know that's really pro-Armory and someone I know that's really anti-Armory.
Well, wouldn't it be better to wait until we get more information on these grants?
That's certainly an option.
Because you're not going to be able to give a definite answer anytime soon anyway. So why don't you wait till you can get as much information obtainable as you possibly can get?
All right.
Well,
All right.
who's going to be tasked with this? The reason this was brought up in committee, because the committee met right after the last council meeting, and we were tired of just listening to debacle. So do we push it down the road another month, 2 months, and then we finally do something? Or who's going to be tasked with looking into grants? I mean, we know the grants: Brownfield, industrial revitalization,
Phase 2 of
DCD, whatever. We know them. So now what do we do?
So they're the only ones available.
What else? There's other grants that are available for outfitting the building. Yes, there's plenty of those. That's good. So what else? What's the next step? So I think if that's the case, we need to have a committee that will do the grants. Who's going to look into doing the grants? The staff. I mean, the staff is leery, to be honest, to say, all right, well, here, let me go do Brownfield and apply for this and do this,
Right.
Get a number, because they feel like everybody looks at them and goes, well, hold on, he's in support of the Armory if he's doing that.
Right.
So who's going to take
What's
the ball
wrong with being in support of something?
Here's the good news.
See, I don't understand why it's wrong to be in support of something.
What'd you say?
I don't understand why it's wrong to be in support of something.
I mean, everybody's got. I mean, I can't hold it against you because you were for the Army. I can't hold it against you. This is America.
Right.
Everybody's got their own opinion.
Amen.
I can't hold it against you. I'm not gonna hold it against you. I've got my feelings. You got your feelings. But only thing I'm saying is, hey, we're gonna look at these grants and we'll go from there. Very simple. You got your feelings, I got my feelings.
Right, my feelings are just preferences. Here's the good news, folks. Here's the good news. The good news is the building's costing the people of Blackstone very little right now. The building is the cleanest and really the best it's looked in the last, I'll say 20 years. That's good news. Now, there are clouds on the horizon. We all know that. The clouds have been with us for the last 18 years. But it's brighter than it's ever been. And I feel like slow and steady does win the race, Madam Clerk. And you got to remember what the town manager said. The town manager told all of us, if y'all will please wait to have this community conversation around November, December 2019. We'll have the town reserves where they should be. And it's not kicking the can down the road. That's listening to our town manager who we hire and pay good money, and he earns every penny of, to guide us.
Well, we're going to put in for the second phase.
Absolutely.
Right. So, we're going to put in that.
The only reason I mentioned with the block to block grant is because it's going to be supposedly $1.2 million is what we're going to be applying for. So you take out the housing of that. We've already done the water and sewer will be done in the first phase.
Right.
So that will be taken care of.
Right.
So we're going to limit what will impact the neighborhood. And so say Philip told me, he said, roughly you figure, I think he said in the committee, we'll have $500,000 maybe that we could finagle with. And that still doesn't pay for all of it. So that's where you got $500,000. And if the building only costs $800,000, well, we still got $300,000 to come up with somewhere. So that's the only reason I said we just need to hear from the community. And
I agree. No harm is being done tonight by continuing to investigate grants. No harm. Now, And there's no, if there was action we could take tonight that would resolve it, I know y'all be making motions, but there's really not.
But how do you,
But I
and
think
I'm
that's
for
what they-
investigating them, but in what phase, you have to apply now, because we're to that point where you have to apply for the grants in order to know how much.
But you can apply and not have, when you don't have to, you can apply and decline a grant also.
Correct, yes.
Right. I'm gonna, unless there are any other questions or motion, I'm gonna, the direction of the
I
council,
said we table it until next month, until we get
Okay.
some more information on these grants.
common consent? Common consent, no, okay. We agree to table till next month till we get more information on grants. Mr. Hasbrook, any other, you have the dog waste containment?
We recommend that the containers be installed in the Swartz Tavern Armory area, Sea Park, and the cemetery.
Is that a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for
Is
that.
there a second to that motion?
Second motion.
Ms. Jones, a second to the motion. This is the place, the three, we get them for free. The dog, it's called the doggy pots. At the locations described. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Let the record show that we appreciate the gifts of Daphne and Jerry Cole. And I do want to say, yesterday I was riding down, as fate would have it, and for the first time in years, I actually saw a resident on Brunswick Avenue picking up after the dog. I actually stopped and I applauded them. So it was a good Sunday. Go ahead. What else? Lake Country Internet.
Yes, Mr. Bonner is here. Did you want to say a few words about your?
This is David Varner, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to try to expedite this, but basically we're looking at high-speed internet that could be facilitated by our 2 water tanks.
Yes,
Mr.
sir,
Varner, the
that's-
floor is yours.
That's correct. As I saw on your agenda later on, you're going to talk about the grant availability. What we're doing is doesn't cost the town anything. We're actually doing this from private money that we are putting in. So no grant, which you have to match. We're just asking to use the water towers. And
You mentioned grant, are you getting the Microsoft 365 grant?
no. We have worked with Microsoft in the past. Microsoft was the one that kind of got us started on this. So we've taken this on our own to go to other communities and kind of do the same thing. What we're going to, in exchange, I've been talking with Philip, in exchange, we'll provide the city with internet.
You be selling this service. So let's say that you get the,
Town-owned buildings, I'm sorry, yes. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah, not all of you.
well, let's say you're up and running. Let's say you're up and running. You've got
Yes, sir.
on our water tanks. What would it cost a household in Blackstone roughly?
So in Boynton, we have a 1 gig fiber, which is what we've asked NBC to give us a price on for here as well, a 1 gig fiber.
How fast is that? Is that really fast? Can people watch all kind?
This is one of our radios that goes on a customer's house. This is an LTE radio. This radio has the capability of doing over 100 megs per second.
Okay.
What we do with our radios, we offer our service. We say it's up to 30 megabits per second. We do not set any speed limits on our radios. We monitor our network. We're a market disruptor. We want to, upset the apple cart for the industry. We charge $70 a month, unlimited service up to a terabyte of data, no contract. We don't charge you for an installation.
This is just internet. This doesn't.
Just internet.
This is just
This
internet.
radio here costs me $250. Plus, there's some more equipment that goes in the house, so it costs us about $400 per install. We eat the cost on that.
Okay. I saw a hand up. Yes, sir, Mr. Osborne.
I'll take 2.
Okay. Well, just to give the people some idea, if you're on CenturyLink around here, and let's don't bash any company, well, generally, what do they run? What is their speed? I'm not good on this. What do they run?
8.
Eight what?
8 meg.
8 megs?
8, he's talking about 100, we're 8 and 3.
Okay. Okay. So,
What we do is we say it's up to 30 megabits per second. And the way we manage our network is I get a daily fiber report telling me where we're at on the usage of our fiber and how much it is. Over the last 24 hours, when I got my fiber report this morning, our speeds were on average 74 point something for that 24-hour period.
is your price $70 for commercial as well?
$70 commercial, residential. I don't believe in charging businesses more just because they're a business.
Okay. Members of council, any questions?
I get several, so bear with me. You just
This is
clarify.
Eric Broadband Nash right here.
All right, no problem.
What frequency are you using, and have you already gotten FCC permission to use that?
I have a 3.65 FCC nationwide license.
All right, and is that frequency already being used in this area? Have we checked?
I do not believe it is, no. What we do is there's nothing on the towers, no, so no, it's not being
Okay.
used.
And I've asked you this before, but I want everybody to know. So once, say you take that frequency up, if someone else wants to offer the same service on our tower, It can be done,
It
correct?
can be done, yes, yeah, it's
I
just
don't
a
wanna
difference.
tie
in-
our tower up
it's-
since we're not going to
Exactly,
any.
yeah, and we're not, I'm not looking to be exclusive or anything like that. Competition is great. I mean, competition, I'm looking, I'm with Microsoft. Microsoft, they're trying to drive prices down. They're trying to make internet available for everybody.
Let me ask you this, if you use both our towers, will people who live around Blackstone also be able to, how far will your reach go?
So this radio can go out. They tell us 7 miles, but that's on a perfect plane.
Okay.
Out in the Midwest.
Right.
Around here, we've seen 2 to 3 miles. Now we have another radio that we put on the towers. They can go out 20 miles plus.
Does weather have any impact on your reach? It's not weather related?
Not weather related.
Okay.
I've got a
I saw Jake Allman had a hand up.
Couple questions.
Yes, sir.
I missed the frequency,
3.65
and that's gigahertz?
gigahertz. Yes.
All right, and you said 30 bits, not bytes?
30 megabits or 30 megabytes. Yeah.
And, how many watts are you pushing?
This radio is 250 watts. So this is a CPE or a custom radio. So this would be go on a customer's house. This is made by Bicells, which is a spinoff of Nokia, which is a spinoff I think of Motorola. So I mean you can see the quality of the radio. We have another radio. The radios that we put we have another one like this. It's called a microcell. So that's 250 milliwatts. The other ones that go up on the tower, those are 1 watt radios, and they're on a sector antenna. The sector antenna is probably about that long.
All right, Mr. Nash, you had some more
1
questions?
watt is the maximum we can go on this frequency.
And you wanted to know about apartments?
Yeah, apartments too.
As long as your landlord would probably agree to have it on their building.
Yes, yeah, we would need landlord permission, and it would have to be like one per. We can't put one on an apartment complex and everybody use it. We have to have one per, because they go through a terabyte like that.
It's a big issue in Blackstone, that's for sure. It's almost as, I think for some people, it's more important than water. Mr. Nash,
Have you conducted survey to determine the locations will serve most underserved citizens in the town?
We have, I think, in the last thing I gave, I know Philip has a sheet that I gave him, a map. This is kind of, if y'all want to pass it around, everything in that blue circle would be covered.
So the town of Blackstone.
Town of Blackstone, pretty much. The only key the key is elevation. So, at a customer's house, if we can get above the trees or get, a signal to the tower, we're golden.
Walter Mack, you may have problems at your house.
You're right.
This does go through, because
On Mac,
it's,
you got problems.
because it's LTE, it's just like your cell phone.
wow.
So, I mean, it goes through trees
We're
around.
only about a half mile to work out.
what's the next step?
Hour.
Half hour.
Trying to move this along.
And I believe during the committee meeting, they also talked about it could possibly reach the water treatment and wastewater treatment plant out of Pickett.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have to take a look and just see if there's a line of
What is
sight.
the latency that typically you're running?
Usually, I think it's.
Latency for general layman's
Please,
terms
thank you.
means how long it takes to get from signal source
Point A to point B.
to the
Right,
provider.
okay.
Your ping time.
Okay.
It ranges in the 20 to 25
So
to
anything
30
under
milliseconds.
100, and when you get 20 to 50 is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually about 37 milliseconds.
Is your service best effort, and what are your service level agreements for uptime and repair time? So if someone has an outage, do you personally come out and fix them?
We do. Yeah, we do. Knock on wood, we have not had any yet.
How many employees do you guys have?
Right now, it's just the two of us. We're a
Service Boyden.
family-run company.
Boyden is that the only town in this area that you service?
Boynton, and we just unofficially we're working on Clarksville. We have a contract pending. We'll find out on Wednesday.
Which all you want to do is put your equipment on both our towers, give the town of Blackstone this device on all publicly owned buildings that want it or need it, and sell to Blackstone people.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Jennifer Hardy had compiled a list, and I didn't bring it with me tonight, as to how much the current town-owned buildings pay to CenturyLink / Shentel or whoever we have, and it's thousands a month. So it could possibly save us just the town-owned buildings several $1,000s a month.
only question I have in my mind, folks, other than I'm not an internet expert, would be the legality and the procurement. We've got a person, we've been approached, and I like everything I've heard from you, but I also believe in fairness.
That's what I had circled, and that's what I had asked him. If someone else comes up, they have every right to be on that tower and offer the same service if they
Correct.
wish.
Yep.
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
And we're doing this through ourselves, not through utility services, who has our contract for manning our towers,
True.
because they would eat up.
Yep.
He would actually have to pay them a certain amount.
Right.
I'm gonna ask a question. It sounds a little capitalistic.
No problem.
But the town of Blackstone years ago decided to get in the cable TV business, and even though the number of cable customers is down, the town of Blackstone gets 5% of every cable bill. I just make that as a statement.
And I agree.
Yeah.
But he's counteracting that, giving us the free internet.
I got you. I got you. I just had,
Which I now know is over $1,000.
yeah. Members of council, any questions of this man? This is one of the list of goals we had. I saw Dr. Bradshaw. You're on a roll tonight. Yes, sir.
What does that do if we have CenturyLink modem, I mean the modems now?
If you have what?
The modems in the home.
Uh-huh.
How do we connect?
So this goes on the outside of your house.
Okay.
And then from this, we have a Ethernet cable that runs into the house. And then inside the house, you have a wireless router.
CenturyLink, if you're out of contract with them, they're going to probably want their modem back.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to use CenturyLink modem. You're going to have to go, unless y'all are purchasing. You're not purchasing.
No.
You'll have to purchase a modem.
Okay.
Well, we give you all the equipment that you need. So,
Okay.
$70 a month, we give you everything up and running. You have a
Just gets
problem,
better
you
and
give us a
better.
call.
With the modem too?
Yes, ma'am, everything.
Modem too?
Well, this is your modem.
Oh, okay.
This is your modem. This is the radio, the two-way transmitter, and then in the house there's a wireless router that goes in there.
So if we have a contract with CenturyLink for 2 years, we'd have to finish out that contract.
Correct. Or you can buy out of it, but
Or you
it's
can
not
buy
cheap.
out of it.
Okay.
We will not help you buy out of it. Sorry.
What's the next step,
Deep
members?
pockets, but not that deep.
Tessie, how do you feel? My only concern is the legality part of it, just because we haven't gone through procurement, but it's open to anybody. What do you? That's my only concern.
The only concern I have, which y'all know I always mess up a good deal, but my concern is, with the procurement specifically regarding the internet provisions to the town. Because the town is the consumer of that, and usually the town does have to do.
You mean us receiving the free internet is what you're saying?
Which sounds kind of crazy because you're like, it's free, how can you do that? But, I would like to just briefly look into to make sure that, the town doesn't need to go through any sort of procurement.
Yeah,
process.
I'd feel more
'Cause I
comfortable.
guess somebody could come up and go, yeah, okay, we'll give you free internet plus 5%.
Right.
And so then you're in the.
Well, we've been
But
we've
I
been
believe-
approached.
I believe he is time constrained.
I am very time constrained. Today is actually my deadline.
Which is the only thing
That's
I
not good,
don't
folks.
like about the fact is I don't like being rushed to haste.
Right.
Yeah. No, we're not
I mean,
going
I
to.
have until have someone else coming in. They actually flew in today. Going to be looking at other locations. So tomorrow, the locations. I mean, if they find another place in Nottoway County, then I'm,
They're
not
going to have the
saying-
same. They're going to have the same deadline, sir. If time is of the essence, isn't also of the essence of the other places?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, in some respects, yes.
You've got the bird in hand here, I think.
Yeah.
Is there any way-
And I mean, Blackstone is very, the way that your towers are situated, it's very favorable for us to serve a lot of people in the community.
Is there anything that we could approve of tonight pending Tessie's research tomorrow? If that, I don't know. I'm saying you're not busy tomorrow is what I'm telling you.
Just state a very specific motion if you're going to be very specific with your motion.
May I add one more?
Yes, sir.
One of the things that's helping to pay for this, and I think I talked to you guys about it, is we have to install a weather station. And the weather station is what pays for all this. So if, that's what I need.
Which company is that through? Is it through a certain organization or?
So the way that it works, when you buy a frequency from the FCC, my frequency is a nationwide frequency. Some people buy blocks of frequencies, and then that's their frequency. Nobody else can use it. My frequency is a shared frequency, so anybody, has the NN license can use it. We've been contracted by this other company to lease their frequency and build out 11 counties to build out a point-to-point in 11 counties, doing like a weather station. And what that does is that preserves their frequency by the FCC. They have until we have until May 1st to have these locations built out in the county. And then by, the engineering firm does all their stuff and reports it back to the FCC. So that's where all the money's coming from to pay for this.
So another question, this is going to sound
Yep, no problem.
kind of odd. Why'd you wait so late to come to us when knowing that the deadline was today?
I approached Philip, I guess, over a month or so ago, and then I've been sick for the last 4 weeks. So, I've been, the last week and a half, I've been running.
Your office is located where? Where's your?
Virginia.
In Boyden? Members of council, what is your pleasure? This is a great service. It's something our people are interested in. Not everybody in Blackston's gonna be able to afford $70 a month, that's for sure, but
I don't know how to frame it, I'm I would like for it to be for a certain period of time to make sure that there's no kinks in it thinking, and I'm not doubting your integrity, but saying he's gonna put his stuff on our tower and then all of a sudden, 6 months from now.
all of that which has been said tonight needs to be put in writing, first of all, to protect the people and protect
Absolutely.
you. So I would say a motion would be in order to proceed with a legal agreement with Mr. David Varner and Lake Country Internet pending a review, which would include placing his equipment on both our water towers and make the subject to a legal review this week as soon as possible this week by Attorney Bacon. So, I'm not.
And at any time, we'll say if something goes awry and he's messing up a frequency or something, or he starts having a disagreement with Blackstone, can we mandate that equipment's removed?
That's certainly within your purview.
I'm not saying it's going to happen,
Right.
but I just want to look out for everyone.
Right. The only caution I have with that, you'll probably have a revolt from the people.
Correct.
Because our service is very, very good.
Well, if the people are
that's
happy,
all-
we're
yeah,
not going to make
that's
the people
good.
mad
That's
if
fine,
they're
yeah.
happy. Is that your motion?
Yeah, I'll move.
All right. Madam Clerk, are you clear on that?
I will be tomorrow when I
Okay.
listen to
Is there a
it.
second to Mr. Nash's motion?
Here's mud.
Is there a second to Mr. Nash?
second it.
Ms. Thompson, second. Attorney Bacon, do you feel you can get the research done and get back to us by Wednesday morning?
And do you have contracts already drawn up that you can send that she?
He's
can
got a
review?
template for Boynton, I believe.
Yeah, the only thing we have in Boynton, we have an indemnity agreement.
Which is in the package.
Yes.
All right. Motion been made and second. I'll ask for a roll call vote. Start-
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you for your interest in Blackstone.
Thank you.
This is potentially a very big thing. Good day for the town.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Varner. Moving right along, last item was Greenview Cemetery, Chair Hasbrook.
Yes, Phil is going to be contacting the county for participating. We discussed the maintenance of that cemetery, which is outside the city limits, but we do know that it's owned by private enterprise, and also there's an older part we're unsure of. There may be some grant money available to maintain that.
Right.
They don't pay for that, so we're gonna put that on hold for now.
That's
until-
good. That's a big initiative across the country. There are a lot of African-American cemeteries. There was one in Dinwiddie County that was grown up in the woods years ago that was discovered basically by the late Beverly McKeel. She did a lot of work trying to clean that up.
Philip said he thinks there's avenues of funding for projects like that.
Very good.
So,
All right, moving right along. That is all for your committee report, Ms. Hasbrook. The other committee report that committee met was the personnel. There were no actions. That was in closed session regarding some personnel issues. And our next committee is Fire and Water. Chair Wilkinson.
All right, the first one was the utility bill, we already took care of that with Ms. Gregory. Second issue was the water study, and that was an informational piece only from Philip. And basically, when you have a degrading system that's, just like Fort Pickett, when we had to redo all of our water lines out there, it's huge enough money. We're talking about $16 million to upgrade all of the stuff that we gotta do for the town. So you gotta start looking at a plan, and Philip wants to come up with a 20-year plan.
And that's just for
To
that
knock
ticket.
that out.
That's just for that ticket, correct?
No,
Well, that 16 million is just for lines at it. That's right.
yes,
So that doesn't include anything in Blackstone?
yes, correct. So that's out there. The wastewater treatment capacity, there was talk about increasing it, capacity 200,000 gallons once we complete those pieces. And then we're also meeting with the Adjutant General, Major General Williams, next week on Tuesday, the mayor, the committee, and Philip to discuss the water sharing piece that we've been trying to get. And then the Nottoway River Bridge replacement was an informational piece. They're planning to build that in place.
Yep.
So it'll shut down once.
Hope they don't drop in, I hope they're clean, with our water being right there, right on the dam.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him increase the size of the dam.
A lot of us would. All right, Chair Wilkinson, anything else on your committee? A lot in the works, it's not very exciting, but it's a lot, it's some big issues there. Anything else? We'll move right along into, we took care of, I believe, the first item.
Do we need to, that's regarding the grant issue. We can't get out of it now. I mean,
We can apply, just
it's
say.
already been applied for.
Right, so, we have the right to, if we're rewarded, we can reject.
Gotcha. It's a 50-50 match.
So the last mile broadband, we're applying for a tobacco commission grant on broadband, but as you heard tonight, that may not be necessary. But item number 2, I believe that's the reason our attorney is here. This is to discuss the Carriage Museum and the town's obligations regarding the VDOT grant that was secured in 2007.
Correct. Thank you. Okay. If you all can recall, I was here a few months ago regarding the Carriage Museum grant. There are essentially 2 different agreements that we have going on. The one is the town of Blackstone with the Thomas family, and that is regarding the Thomas family donating $50,000 to the town of Blackstone. That's governed by one agreement that sets forth various, promises that the town has made to the Thomases. The second were grant funds that the town received from VDOT. And the town has fully received those funds, is my understanding at this point. Mr. Thomas had written communication to the town and to VDOT and expressed certain concerns about the town's operation of the Carriage Museum and certain things that he highlighted that the town had not done. Essentially, the bottom line is that this doesn't necessarily violate anything in the agreement with the contract with the Thomases, but it is more of an issue when it comes to the grant documents and the grant funds.
Okay.
And so with it, for that reason, I had communicated directly with a representative from VDOT. And we had come up with the different items of concern, and I'll kind of go through them and tell the town what I believe that we need. Now, all of this would be subject to a final approval from everyone involved. I would like to get Mr. Thomas involved and on board with whatever the town decides to do, number one. And number 2, obviously VDOT would have to say, these are all of your obligations you have left. You don't have any more after this, you're good.
Okay.
So, the first concern that was raised by Mr. Thomas had to do with the staffing and the hours of the museum and also special events. And so when I talked to the representative of VDOT, he had indicated that he wanted to make sure that the museum was open at a reasonable time and hours, and that it had adequate staffing and somewhere there to answer the questions that were proposed to the others. Or meaning the questions that were proposed to the staffing people. And he said that the person did not really have to have specialized knowledge or training with it. So my proposal with that is that we work with VDOT to identify who, and with the town manager too, to identify who would actually be good to be staffed there, and also identify some set hours that can be worked. It wasn't really specified by VDOT.
It wasn't, it was vague.
Yes.
So they're not, you're not saying that our current hours of the museum being open is sufficient or not? It could be?
They're questionable.
Could be sufficient. What VDOT said is just that it's open at reasonable time and hours and has staffing. Frankly, I think it would be likely that VDOT would like to see a little bit of weekend hours or weekend time
Yeah.
if we could swing that.
The spirit of the agreement with the Thomases and VDOT was, we're gonna have that thing, but there's no museum worth calling a museum if it's not open Thursday through Sunday, at least. I mean, if it's a museum, it's when the people visit, it's weekends. That was the beauty of, the prior arrangement. Now, I don't want to take your time, but obviously I think technically I think the town's probably okay. But going back in the time machine, when we took the $50,000 in the carriages, I think there was some verbal assurances that we haven't lived up to. Now, that doesn't mean, a town staffer at that time making a promise does not bind a future council. But it sure has not done wonders for public relations for the town of Blackstone. Go ahead, Mr. Attorney, I'm sorry.
The second requirement that was brought up, which VDOT didn't really seem to be too concerned about, that was occupancy and displays. So Mr. Thomas had an issue with the occupancy and displays that were currently at the museum. VDOT said, wasn't really concerned about that part of it.
That's concerned displays, meaning maybe DBI has Main Street stuff or something? Is that what he's talking about?
Hold on one second and I can read.
I don't know what,
Well, Bobby was real concerned about if anybody was going to place anything in there or move something, they had to go through the families, what I thought one of his concerns was.
Specifically,
Is Bobby here, by the way? Because if he's here, okay,
he had indicated, it says in here, the donee shall accept input from the donors and the donor's son concerning the facility to house the items and how the items will be displayed and how the facility will be operated. And so that was actually an excerpt from the Thomas contract, which is probably why VDOT isn't very concerned about it. And all it says is the donee shall accept input.
we
So,
haven't moved carriages around. Those carriages have been sitting in the same place, I believe.
but we accept input all the time. It doesn't mean you're bound by the input. You just
Exactly.
accept the input. Oh, great idea, we'll take it under advisement, right?
yes.
So
exactly.
2, I don't see as important
Correct.
as number 1.
Yes, that's correct.
What did occupancy mean?
Occupancy, just,
Carriages, displays.
yeah, how the items will be displayed and how the facility will be operated, just the input. And the reason I say occupancy and displays is that's the way that Mr. Thomas had referred to it. Okay. The fourth one is public signage. What Mr. Thomas had cited as the town put signs on 460 and 40 advertising the Carriage Museum. VDOT said that those specific locations are not a big deal. It just wants to be sure that there are public signs that are out there and that the public knows that the museum is open, whether or not it's a sign or it could also be advertisements.
We've got museums on the DBI signs that Lafayette Dickens helped get. There's museums on, historic district museums.
That, and I do know.
Yeah, the wayfinding signs.
I
Thank
do
you.
know that I think Zach and Philip are working to replace the Robert Thomas.
With signs, designs and more, and they're in the process of making an identical one to that one, but vinyl, so it's weather resistant.
Right now, it's rotted off, pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
That's just the sign on the building, that's not.
No one on the building with the name.
Right. Okay, moving right along.
Parking lot paving. It does say in the grant the town is to provide a paved parking lot, and it also goes back to citing to ADA compliance and things like that. What Mr. Delamorton, he's the VDOT person, he said we need to look back in the grant papers, and usually VDOT wants to make sure that it's ADA compliant and that a person with disabilities can get to the museum.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Just paved lot, but the only thing is asphalt looks bad in a historic district like that. So I don't know if there's a way to soften it, because right now we just got all pea gravel everywhere, but,
What about stamps?
yeah. So we'll figure it, but yes, I think most definitely parking lot needs to be paved with whatever. Certain-
I'm gonna refer the parking lot payment to the Buildings and Properties Committee to come up with some recommendations. I'm sorry, I just, but I know, I've been working you to death, but I want Bobby to see that we're not just going through an exercise of trying to placate. We are moving
Yeah,
forward.
that's an easy, and it definitely says it in the agreement that it will be paved.
Yeah, that's a
So
no-brainer.
And
Do
do you
it.
wanna include the ADA compliance?
Yes, I'm gonna refer the paving the parking area and the ADA compliance to the,
It has
Buildings
a
and
ramp on the
Properties.
front already, so it should be pretty.
right.
This last one, at least I think, is kind of the biggest and most ambiguous one.
Okay.
And that is the blacksmith shop. Mr. Thomas says the town of Blackstone, with federal enhancement dollars, is proposing to build a museum to house these historic vehicles, along with a blacksmith shop, which will be located on land that the town has purchased. And that is a direct cite to the grant. The grant does say that when it says the purchase, but then in different places in the grant, it's not really ever mentioned again.
It says proposing to build.
Yes, and in the exact budget, where it's a breakdown in the budget, and I actually have both grants if anybody wants to see it with me, it just really talks about the budget and, you know, what's there. There's a lot of mention of, you know, the blacksmith shop and equipment, but then it says, for example, historic preservation, housing these historic transportation vehicles to enclose horse-drawn carriages, wagons, buggies, coaches, horse riding equipment. Then it says, comma, blacksmith shop and equipment in an environmentally controlled museum setting.
So is that supposed to be all in the Carriage Museum?
No, it was gonna be a separate building. I know some people involved. They've got donations, and it was gonna be built, and it just kinda, it's like a lot of things, it just kinda got sidetracked.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good to know, because it's not really clear from this, aside from that one distinct sighting that says
Right.
that. And so we may want to look into how we can make sure that VDOT and Mr. Thomas are satisfied that the blacksmith tools and are being housed properly in whatever structure they deem fit.
But this council has never axed or rejected a blacksmith shop. It was discussed by the previous council back in 2000, heck, it was before, it was 2005, it was before and it was a grandiose idea, and it had a lot of steam behind it, but that was 2005, 2006, at the time they were applying for the grant. But this council has never said no to a blacksmith shop, I can tell you that right now.
In 2005, we were also spending a
Correct.
large amount of money, and that's what got us in the shape we were.
Correct,
4
correct.
years ago.
Well, I think the next step would be maybe a meeting with Mr. Thomas and the VDOT, Mr. Delamorton, and we can maybe iron this out and shake hands and sign something and end this stalemate.
That sounds good, because that's, you know, that's, I think, just making sure that all parties here are satisfied and that the
Absolutely.
town lived up to what their agreements are, so.
Right.
That's all.
Any members of council, any questions? All right, very good.
Thank you. And if it's okay with you all,
Absolutely,
I
I
will
know.
go unless you all want me
Oh,
to stay.
you've got young children, absolutely.
Thank you.
Take care, be
My
safe.
husband thinks you
I do
should.
too.
I know he does. Next up, we have a issue that's been looming for several months, and we have the Sixth Street cost estimates. At the last meeting, you asked for estimates from Lee's Excavating. I made that request. And Lee's Excavating,
Tessa, you may be needed for this, so hold on one second.
this is, as you know, the Linda Blevins property on Sixth Street. And we have a price B&B's price was $37,000 estimate, and Lee's Excavating is $36,800.
Remember, Manager Norbeck said that that did not include engineering costs. and stuff
Correct,
at the end.
correct.
Now, Philip mentioned to me Friday, Thursday, that there was another bid.
And it hadn't been received yet. or something.
No.
But
And I
my concern
emailed
is
the guy today and he
procurement.
didn't have, he didn't
It
respond.
hadn't been cured.
These are estimates. This is not a legal procurement. This is a starting point to find out what it may entail. Now, of course, since we last met, I know no one's no more aware of this than Linda Blevins, we have had even more rain, probably 4 inches of rain since the last meeting. And I'm sure your problem still exists, does it not?
The basement is a disaster. It all comes in from the back of the house. I had to cut some of the riser out from the first step, leaving the solder and going up, because it mold, and I can't have mold.
No.
So somebody came in and cut that out, but you can't cut out with so many risers. It's all, I mean, the whole back of where the risers, the back of the steps are, is just totally bad.
Does council, there's several things, I'm not trying to rush, but does council wish to seek formal bids? Where these prices, when more people are bidding, you may have somebody out there hungry for it, or is council's position that the price really doesn't matter, it's the president you're worried about? Well, let me ask y'all this, what if the price was $1,000? What would council be inclined to do if it was $1,000 to fix the
Well, what
problem?
if she purchased the pipe and the town did the work?
There are all kinds of ways to do this.
I disagree. The town created this problem.
I'm with you on that.
This is not a case of a culvert that's running down somewhere and, so you need to fix your culvert. We created this problem, we put a ditch through underground that is failing horrifically. It's also, she's got a sinkhole in her backyard because the pipe is broken. If this costs $100,000, I think the town still has to fix it. And they can make it right.
And being this my committee, and we've been working with this thing for the past 6 months, I'd like to put a motion on the floor that we go ahead and fix the ladies' stuff, because it's getting worse. It's not gonna get any better. The ladies causing this lady heartaches. I'd like to put a motion on the floor that we go ahead and take care of this problem.
Would you like to seek bids to go ahead and then at the next meeting award the contract to the lowest bidder?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Miller has moved, is there a second? Ms. Thompson I'm gonna give the second to Ms. Thompson. Discussion, I'm sure there will be some discussion. This is,
Why can't we go with what we have, the two?
They weren't.
they were not legally procured, we didn't open up to everybody, we just picked B&B at first, and then I came up with the idea, because usually Jay Lee's done a lot of good work in the town, and a lot of times he's been he's done a lot cheaper. This time he wasn't, but there may be another company out there, if we do a formal bidding, hopefully they'll bid, maybe sharpen the pencils a little bit.
The thing is, the more you wait, the higher the cost is gonna be.
But
Well, it's gotta be bidded out.
But if
no matter
Well-
it's repaired,
Yeah.
shouldn't she have to sign
Hold
something?
on, Ms. Blevins has, let Ms. Blevins.
When I first moved there, the question was that it was the culvert, it was the ditch. So I put $1,000 worth of rocks in the ditch. I got it all done, I filled in one place that was sunk. Mr. Moncur assured me that's all flush. They never told me that there was an issue with the pipe. And now the back of the yard is beginning to sink down under the fence. I mean, I had a puddle there until about 4 o'clock this afternoon, a big puddle. So the longer you wait, the worse the mold's getting, and the worse, the whole thing's gotta be dug out.
The quickest we can legally, here's the good news, the motion he has made is the motion you've been wanting. Now granted, you wanted it 2 months ago, but with his motion, if it were to pass, and bids were to be sought, this council could, at the latest, at its March 18th meeting, award a contract to begin that work. But the motion will have to pass first. We've got a motion, a second.
At the same time, would there be an agreement signed? I understand the fact that the town put it in, but would there be an agreement signed that after it's repaired on this town's behalf this time, we relinquish all responsibility of the ditch?
If you can, but as Colonel Thomas said,
I would say we need to put an
Well,
easement in.
this is it. Say it doesn't fix it all the way, then you're going on. So if this is what's recommended, then we should have something signed saying, all right, we fixed it, like the engineer said to fix it, we're no longer responsible for it. If not, it's gonna continue
Sins of the
rolling.
father, though. So here's the problem, the sin, the original sin.
I agree
was
it
in the
needs to be
70s.
fixed, but after it's fixed, after the engineers say what needs to be done and we fix it, then we should relinquish it after that.
So
Why?
where do
We don't relinquish our sewer lines, so.
Well, how many times you gonna fix it, Tom?
I relinquished one of mine I signed it last week, actually. I relinquished it. It's on my private property, and I relinquished the town of responsibilities.
Well, that was nice of you, because just playing devil's advocate, before Mr. Blevins ever moved to Blackstone, the town of Blackstone took it upon itself, with good intentions, I'm sure.
Yes.
They did work on that property, the Whitehurst property. And apparently that work was good for a long time, but that work is no longer sufficient. And the point Mr. Wilkinson's making is it's an ethical point. When does the town say, you know what, we're going to go, we don't stand by our work anymore? That's the question.
And I agree, but I just want to make sure we draw the line, because I know it's going to be more. So, all right, so say we created, Miss Stiles is sitting right there, and I just know she knows she has a water problem in her backyard because of an issue that was created, I don't know if it was by the town or who, next door several years ago. So where do you draw the line? Is it because Miss Stiles has a problem because we created a problem possibly next door, so then we have to fix the next problem? Do we fix the next? Jenny Davis Bunn, her driveway or her backyard, do we go in, do we have to pipe all that now?
Here's my answer. Here's my answer. My answer, attorney, would be this. My answer would be whenever the town has gone on property and performed an improvement, and that improvement either was substandard or it just started to fail, the town is obligated there. That's why one of the reasons this council, the previous council, has said we're not going to go on private property except in rare circumstances. But when the town put that drain in there and that pipe in there, the town is married to that property.
I understand that. All I'm saying is that we need to have that line drawn as to where do you say no?
It does need to be fixed, there's no question about it. And with the town putting it in, it should be fixed, but after it's fixed, the way the engineers say it needs to be fixed, and Tom says it needs to be fixed, after that, I mean, cause what if you, a year or two from now, it's not working, it's still coming.
Well, if she were to sign, now, she or any other property owner may be so happy, she might sign a deal where after 5 years, but I know if I were you, I wouldn't.
I mean, listen to what you
because
guys
she
are
wouldn't
saying.
have purchased that
If this
property.
was my property, I'd close the damn thing off and create a goddamn pond in the backyard.
Watch your language, please.
Because then you'd have a huge pond that would go
it's so
right
nice
down the
to
back,
finally hear
back
him
of
get
everybody's
vocal.
property. I mean, the
It is a
town
problem
really-
and it needs to be fixed, but
Hold on, sir. We have a motion. Mr. Miller has made a motion. It's been duly seconded. Is any further discussion among the council? On the record? What is your name, sir?
Randy,
Randy, what's your last name?
you,
Okay.
my question is, and maybe the lawyer could put some input into it, is if this water going into her backyard is coming off of city streets and through city piping, does that not mean that that water is owned by the city at that point, or the town at that point? So that is going to be a continual problem for them because the town built the ditch initially.
I think that's a very low threshold because I think the better threshold for precedent's sake is the fact that we've got our fingerprints all over it with the work done by the town 40 years ago. When you start going to the origin of water, you can go all the way and find it's coming from a street. That's when you're going to get in trouble.
That's why I want the line drawn, because there's somewhere, that water that comes through Miss Blevins' yard comes from all the streets from Church Street
Church
down.
Street all the way down.
Right.
But it's one of those things, you can't control that. The town cannot control. It's going to go to a creek.
And
I
the
have
town
a creek
should not
going
have-
straight through my property.
Right.
I mean, so am I going to make the town come through and actually clean out the ditch?
I think folks, here's what I'm saying. And Ms. Blevins, you may not like this. I support everything that you're doing in this motion. I think the original sin was
That we
the
went on
town
private.
in 1970 should have never sought to do that, go on private property and do what was probably very costly. But here's the bottom line. Our forefathers did that. We're stuck with it. We got to do the right thing. That's my philosophy.
I agree.
I'm
We
for
need to fix
fixing it, but I would like the town to relinquish after it's fixed. I mean, you're talking.
If you can do that legally.
$40,000
Sure.
of repair that, I mean, I can tell you the first one, he sat right over there where Lonnie's sitting. Ben Green will come up when his fixed. I mean, it's going to be an never ending.
But has the town on the property that
Yes,
basically
there's a drop inlet back there.
Okay.
They're
Well,
all over town.
right.
They're everywhere.
If it's on private property, then that's bad, but then we're gonna pay for the sins of the forefathers.
So at some point, that's what I'm saying, let's minimize the issue and say, yes, all right, we'll fix it. But from this point on, we're relinquishing it.
If you can
As
do
long
that, but I
as
don't,
it's fixed correctly.
I don't
Can you
think
do it legally though?
you can't say we own it, it's our fault, but this is the last
I don't
time.
think you can do it legally. I don't
Attorney-
think you can do it legally.
Attorney has the floor.
Okay, so the first question you have is, when you're looking at this is, number one, and I'm just looking at this from a legal perspective, not
Right.
from any other issues. But, you gotta look at the statute of limitations. So the first thing you look at is exactly when does the statute of limitations start running? Looking at this from a purely legal standpoint, did it start running when the pipe was put in? Did it start running when the discovery was made? Did it start running when the damages were done? Second, when you're looking at a town, you're looking at, well, was the pipe or whatever caused the issue put there for, proprietary function or governmental function? If it was put there for proprietary function, and there's a list of those in the code, then the town will be liable. If it's put in for a governmental function, then that would mean that the town is actually immune from any liability. The third thing you've got to look at here is, and I can't speak to this, I'm assuming that you all can, is, are these damages caused by negligence on the town's part? So did the town do something wrong that led to those damages? And then the last question, and this may give at least a little bit of legal clarity to, well, where does it stop? And the answer to that is, if all of those other questions are, in the affirmative leading to the fact that the town would have liability, that last question is, well, what actually caused it? Because you have to have a negligent act by the town that the town will be responsible for that would ultimately lead to the cause of those damages. And so, and the more attenuated you get from the negligent act, the less and less you can actually prove the causation.
Proprietary, can you give me a brief example, proprietary versus government? Give me an example of what's proprietary and governmental.
I don't have, and I can look it up, I don't have any specific examples, but generally speaking, proprietary functions with the town are something that the town uses to make money. That
Okay.
the town makes
This
money
is
off
not that.
Yeah, governmental functions are more of, usually like.
Infrastructure, drainage. That's what this
things
is.
that don't make money off of, but
Right.
it's very nuanced, and you would really have to look at what the actual negligent act was to determine it, because there's tons of people out
It
there.
wasn't really
It
negligent.
was just, time has made it insufficient. There was no negligence. Time has rendered it insufficient.
It's been years, I don't know when that pipe was put in.
Phillips says in the 70s, and
How about can you put a bigger pipe in it?
that's what's
going
proposed.
in.
No, I mean bigger than what's proposed.
It needs to be a 24, it's an 18 now.
The pipe is too small
Yeah.
to put in.
Right.
It's not
Is that the
right
biggest pipe you can put in?
Yeah, you can put bigger, but 24 from 18 is
It's
hard.
big. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a motion that's been made and duly seconded. Is there any further discussion among the council? The motion is to seek bids and to award a contract next month with the lowest responsible bidder. We'll start with Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0.
But I will be thanking, I would like Tessa, I'd like an agreement signed. I mean, I agree that the town needs to fix it, but I would like, so please think hard.
We can ponder that. Certainly, you can ponder that, but I'll be honest, like I said, it's up to, Ms. Blevins will have some say in that.
All right, well, what
The
about,
town put the first one in.
And we're putting the second one now. Well, it was done right
it was done right just over time.
Not according to.
40 years ago, though, is completely different.
But the second wettest year on record didn't hurt last year, and this year's even better than that so far. That did not help things.
That's true, but if they had told me when I moved in that it was not just the culvert, because Mr. Moncure was just so new. And it's the culvert, it's just the culvert, you need, the culvert's falling apart.
But that's not the town.
I put all that money in there, and I told Philip one time, because they put in a piece of rebar. I said, Philip, it backs up with leaves and it comes up over the side. Town property, you can't touch it. I was gonna cut the middle out. Told him I was gonna take the pipe out. Well, town property, you can't touch it.
Town staff, I'd ask one favor. Mr. Van Orbeck is recovering from the flu. Let's don't make him extra sick by telling him this tomorrow. Thank you for your patience, Ms. Blevins. We really do appreciate it. We've taken care of number 4, preparing food downtown. The next item, number 5, be careful, Ms. Bacon. To vacate the alleyway fee, that's informational. You can't increase the price. Yes.
Correct, but we just wanna let people know that we are gonna start enforcing it.
Yes, $100, right, which should be enforced anyway.
Effective immediately.
So this is what now?
It's already been on the books for years, and last month Philip came to y'all about increasing it to $250, but after he reviewed the state code, it could not be increased, so it has to stay the $100. But we have not been enforcing it since I've been working here.
Town's always
So
been
now
putting the
we're gonna
bill.
start-
It's
It's in the, it's
in
an
the state
ordinance.
code, but it's already in the town code.
Yes, it's in our ordinance as well, which the ordinance is in the
Okay,
council.
as long as it's in the town code
But
already,
we
you
are
don't
going
need
to
to hold
start
it.
enforcing it now, just
Right.
so you know.
All right, moving right along, the Clay's Assisted Living, you'll see in your packet, this is a night we're asked to decide the future of that permit. I've asked, and the chief agreed, and some residents, wintertime, there's not, I don't know, a lot of calls in the winter, and I talked to some of the residents in the area. A fair review would be to go through the summer to October and see how they're doing. So I'd entertain a motion by council to extend this through October, the current permit.
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded, and we'll put this on our October agenda.
Did you talk to, Ms. Hicks?
I've not spoken to Ms.
Because
Hicks.
I was just surprised that I didn't see her.
I'm surprised too. I talked to some of the residents who
I
were,
did talk with the administrator and some of the residents that may have been causing some of the issues. They have been released.
okay.
Yeah, I talked to her too.
All right, and in wintertime, there's less foot traffic just because it's wintertime.
And how long did you extend it? I'm sorry.
We're gonna, please schedule this permit on it's through October 31st, but schedule it for the October council meeting to consider it again. Ms. Blevins, I saw your hand up.
You know, Billy, at the next meeting, is there a chance that it could be voted on and decided?
It is my intention the next meeting, there'll be bids presented and awarded. And I think part of the bids, part of the criteria should be how soon the contractor can start to work.
I would say immediately would be good.
What's that?
I would say immediately would be
And we
good.
may even, if we get enough bids in, we could have a special meeting.
That would be wonderful.
We'll keep you informed.
I'll be here at the special time.
Thank you. Going on to unfinished business number 7, we've been approached by a South Main Street property owner who wants to sell the town their lot for $65,000. Is this beside Happy Cafe?
Yes, and he had presented that months ago and had been to the committee and never brought out here, but since council voted on the railroad parking over here, Philip wants permission from council to reject, that the town is not interested in buying.
He recommends rejecting the offer.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Ms. Thompson, second. The motion's been made and duly second to reject this offer. Hearing no other comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries 7-0. Unfinished business number 8, the USDA resolution involving police cars. This is boilerplate.
Yes, this year USDA with these have decided that they want to do a resolution before we can apply.
Okay.
So they just want this resolution approved.
You have a resolution in your packet just to apply for these police cars. What is it, normally $25,000 match or something like that?
I think y'all approved the application last month, but they wanted the resolution.
All right, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Ms. Hasbrook is seconded. I'll ask for a roll call vote just because there might be some local funds involved over $10,000.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That motion carries 7-0. On to ongoing projects. You got the live burn that's going on as we speak. Meals tax, everyone is in order. It's wonderful. Street improvement, do we know, we're gonna get the asphalt going here though in the spring, aren't we? As far as when that's, because I think there's a lot of streets, the streets may be,
Yes, because I think y'all have already approved
Yeah, we
the
already approved
contract, so yeah, they were.
okay, because they'll be busy, lots of places. Nothing on Wigglesworth Stadium. Ball starts in, believe it or not, 6 weeks. Wastewater treatment plant, nothing to report there. In your packet, under number 6, under ongoing projects, you have the schedule of work in the East End grant. Mr. Miller, how are things going in Ward
He
A?
told me that we can't get the sewer started until June.
Okay. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, because the contractor said he could do it, because it's only a year, he has a year to do it. And so he's gonna finish up all these other projects around here, which, and I asked him about it, so he said we had a choice, we can mark him up so he won't get no more contracts around here.
Well, I can tell you, you may be doing the best thing by letting him delay it, because he's got a certain time frame to do it anyway, so it won't tear the streets up for as long. So, and this is only sewer. This doesn't have anything to do with the housing, so your streets will be torn up a lot less of time. Which would be a benefit, to be honest.
That is informational. Now, we have some items coming up here that are very important. And Mr. Wilson, I hear the rental property maintenance ordinance. It looks like we're going to have a meeting on March 18th about, for the landlords, a public hearing. And that April 1st, the plan is that the Blackstone rental property maintenance inspection program will resume after a basically 10 to 15 year hiatus.
Pending approval.
Pending approval by council. And also on number 8, you have the annual weatherization program. The management team will meet in March 19 to determine which households are better suited to be weatherized. What was in the budget? 50,000?
Yeah,
50,000? 25 budget. We take some money from the program monies that we have from.
So it's gonna be total of 50,000 at the end though, right?
Yeah, that's,
I think Philip said that there's 50,000 right now to be used, not this year, but next year towards the east end.
July
So there
1st.
might be
25 to use now.
Yeah.
okay. I didn't do a lot of houses, but thank goodness we've had a mild winter. so
Anything
far.
to help.
Absolutely. Comprehensive plan, you'll see in your packet, and there's a detailed survey, and God bless Yvonne for going through this, because, I mean, we're talking about your shopping habits, your feelings about the town, happy with your own personal education. This covers it. If you want to do a self-assessment, self-awareness, this is it. But this will give us information about the people who live here and what they want from their government.
Will this be mailed out in the utility bills? How does this plan on, it says we'll get them back in March, so results will be provided at March council meeting.
Huh?
I'm not sure what
It won't be
she's
mailed
doing.
with the utility bills, I think she's just mailing them herself. Would it
I think
reduce
she's asked
postage?
someone to put it on the website, but I don't know if it was this survey or another survey, I'm not real sure.
She didn't say anything.
I don't
It's just
think
one survey, isn't it?
It might be, but she.
Yeah,
put
she had a
something on the
preliminary
website.
survey though, that we actually, some people met, some community members met at the fire station for a preliminary study, and that's where these questions came from. But
But I know
I
there's
don't
one
want
that
result,
they
I mean,
condensed.
we're almost at the end of the month now. We meet on the what, 18th or 19th? of
March 18th.
So you're giving people 2 weeks.
It needs
And
more
they haven't
time.
even been, they haven't even been put out yet.
Were you born and raised in Blackstone? What language do you prefer to speak?
Maybe when we mail out the new 8.5 by 11, if we have that much time, but we don't have that much time.
How often, how get it?
Just ask if we
Yeah.
can get the results in April
I
instead
mean,
of March.
I get involved with most local issues. We're gonna know a lot about y'all, and this is,
It says in the survey cover that the surveys return postmark no later than April 15th.
so they've got 2 months.
So it says results will be provided to the town at the March council meeting, so that's a comprehensive plan. It's not survey.
You don't have to put your name on there, so my concerns were a little bit maybe overstated, but it's a good, there are a lot of good thorough questions here. Your income levels, your education, your employment. All right, that's informational. We'll get on to new business. We have the planning commission. All 5 members are eligible for reappointment, and they wish to be reappointed. Members of council, what is your pleasure?
I've stood behind that all public officials ought to be current on taxes, so I just want to make sure all current members of the planning commission current on taxes. And I believe so, but I
Yes.
just.
Well, one of them's your uncle. I bet he's
Yes.
all right.
I've stated it before, I just want to make sure that if you're serving on a public position, your taxes ought to be current.
So can you check on that?
They are Myra Quick, Tommy Watkins, Dennis McCarthy, Eddie Nash, and our council rep is Barbara Thompson. What's your pleasure, members
I
of council?
move to approve,
Is there a second?
Pending,
Second.
pending making sure all on the page.
Pending the Nash probe. All in favor say aye. Opposed?
sorry, who seconded that?
Mr. Miller.
Okay, thank you.
And the electric bill.
That's right.
If you have a say in county, town government, you need to have.
New business number 2, the VEMA rep is Philip. He wants to ask that Dan Martin be appointed to the Virginia Municipal Electric Association Board. I think that's wise.
No, it's,
Philip would be reappointed, and Dan would also be appointed.
I move to reappoint Philip as reappointed to the board of directors, and Dan Martin be appointed as alternate.
Second.
All right, Mr. Morgan is second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? New business number 3. Where is my chief? take-home police cars.
Come on down.
Moving 5 miles further is what it is.
This is a proposal to, currently, we've reinstated take-home police cars if you live within a 25-mile radius. You were seeking to extend the radius to 30 miles because of an applicant that, I think, in the South Hill area?
30 or 35, yeah.
Okay,
I was looking for 35 miles.
okay,
Initially, as my memo indicates, when we initially had the program, we had a 30-mile radius. When it was reinstated back a few years ago, it was reduced down to 25 miles. What we'd like to do is increase it between 30 and 35, so that maybe we could increase our applicant pool. The take-home car is a very important benefit, and it's important in a candidate might want to choose where they want to go to work. We'd like to be more competitive with the surrounding areas.
You say you have a potential now?
Yes.
But if you can guarantee that, I'll make a motion right now to go 35 miles.
Well, it's true that the people applying is getting smaller and smaller. And you're just talking about 5-10 more miles.
Yeah.
That's from here to the courthouse. But my thing is, if you're gonna extend it to get people in, how about the people that live in town? Is there something else that cause I mean, you see what I'm saying?
here's my thing, Chief, I'm willing to support this, but here's my thing, I want to incentivize. I don't want to punish a guy for where he lives or a girl for where they live, but I'm willing to ask this council to give a $3,000 annual stipend for any officer that lives in town. And if they're an officer and they live in town, it's a $5,000 a year stipend. I want those police cars in town. And also, and I don't want anyone to misinterpret this, but a police officer, when they live in town and there's a crime in their town, they've got more skin in the game. If I'm a police officer and my family lives 2 blocks from Dollar Street, and there was a home invasion on Dollar Street, you can bet that I am looking at Dollar Street. But when I live and I drive to South Hill, I'm not saying the concern's less, but those police cars in our town are an asset. And I don't want to punish people where they live, but I want to incentivize. I would like this council to seriously, if not tonight, in the next budget, $3,000 a year stipend if you live in town. If you're an officer, $5,000.
Yeah, let's look at that in the budget.
Second.
I just think
I agree, but the dollar figure maybe.
How many officers right now live in the town? How many Blackstone police officers live in town limits, in addition to Sergeant Matthias?
3.
Probably 3.
3.
Out of 12? Okay.
So Chief, if you move to town, you get some more money.
Well, I think the mayor's on a good point. Not only that, but maybe you'll decrease the number of people wanting to go somewhere else to get more money or to get it's one of these things you're gonna have to start putting money into that service.
Amen.
You want to do all this expanding and all this, or you're gonna have to expand the police department as well.
Again, what option 3 on a community poll would be stay status quo and do vital necessity functions in the town of Blackstone. And that would be one of them.
Absolutely.
You want your motion, Mr. Nash, is to extend the radius to 35 miles?
35.
Okay, is there a second?
No pay increases yet.
Okay.
That needs to be done budget.
Okay.
If-
Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion?
We got
Due to the fact
can't
that,
get one of them.
just in case it were to go over 10,000 a year, I don't think it would, but gas could go crazy. Ask for a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries 7-0. And I will take the mayoral privilege and refer my proposal to the budget committee next time they meet. If y'all think I'm crazy, I won't take it personally. It won't be the last time I've been called. First
That
time.
doesn't have
I've
anything to do with this, man.
All right. Next up, you have award of painting bids for town hall and the fire department. And you have the low bid of $10,500 from TMD Handyman Services.
Do you know who that is? And we had rebid this because we had gotten bids of people that were not licensed.
I didn't have a contract.
Do all these have licensed and insured? Okay. I move that we go with the low bid of TMD Handyman Services.
So that's a big gap.
All right, Ms. Jones is second the motion. He's from Clarksville. The high bid was $17,500 or $19,000. He's at $10,500. That's a pretty big difference.
Pretty big difference.
He's from Cumberland.
I think he's just starting his own business.
Okay.
He's remodeling my bathrooms at home.
But if we give them,
Okay.
if we give them an extra $1,000, we move to Blackstone.
That's right. I'll ask for a roll call vote. Do the dollar amount.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Could we make a note? There are three things that need painting badly in town, and Philip probably knows about this. One is the Sea Park gazebo that our beautification committee is going to discuss Wednesday. Swartz Tavern is looking weathered, which I can't believe because it wasn't that long ago it was painted. And I'd also like, if we can't get the light guys to do it, and this is a beautification recommendation, our downtown street lamps are faded green. They were installed in 1988, and I don't know if they've been painted since '88. If you ride and look at them, they're just faded. They're old green, and I would like, the beautification committee's recommending either black or dark green, but I'd like to get that on the rolling.
Are they green or are they, because they're powder coated aluminum, I think, and I think they were brown. That's what we get when they come in, is they're brown.
Were they brown? Well, they're faded green. They look like they're faded green.
And they could, I mean, they're faded, yes.
Right.
Could be moss.
But those are little things that the beautification committee is trying to look at, and I've learned a lot from them. One member's here tonight, two actually, and it's those little things. In the gazebo, just one other thing I want to get on the record, because Christmas, there's two other things. I know it's crazy, it's February. We need to make sure that Moscow Design comes here and takes out the light bulbs and the Christmas decorations, put the right one in, because Jimmy Johnson did not order the lights he ordered. And we need to make sure that that the gazebo in the park, this past year it had nice little traditional golden lights around the railing, but LEDs on the roof. The beautification committee said one or the other, with the preference of traditional, the gazebo should be traditional.
Well,
But those are little things that just kind of have impact.
can we task the beautification committee to come up with an idea for these outbuildings at the park?
In the park, I'm sure that will be one of the things we'll talk about.
Atrocious.
Yes.
I mean, you've got some where you go through grand illumination night and you can't even see through the plexiglass
Because it's
to
faded
see
or
what's
whatever.
in there because it's so clouded over. So, and there's a few buildings that need major painting with the, so just look.
I just want to get that on the record, because next thing you know, it'll be September, October, and what are we going to do for Christmas?
And I think with the gazebo, it was discussed that the lights with the garland, Citizens Bank does that, and the town does the lights on the roof, so that's why it's two different lights. I guess they need to come together and decide which they're going to.
But I think Chairman Johnson is, Zachary, I think I'm right, he would like, the committee would like, you've got a lot of LED in the park, the traditional yellow/white lights on the gazebo. Is that right?
That's what Jim.
All right. We meet Wednesday at 7 o'clock and meet